your name is Hansi.
Oh, wait, what?
Medic, the song is about Kazi.
No, you said the best AD carry, so I said Hans Summer? It's Hans.
Kazi, and he's already
I mean, you're just wrong here, Betty.
I don't think that you understand. Oh no, I do, your taste is really bad. That's cute when Hans has actually never won. Well, Kazi keeps on inting and calling it fun. Let's just stop or decide on the rift. Your death will be fast, so say thanks for my gift. When my boy Hans is finished with you, he'll prove to you all he's the best in EU. They are the sun that lights the morning sky. They are what gives us wings so we can fly. They are the only ones for us. Our AD carries, they're not named reckless.
Hans Summer, the sun that lights the morning sky, and so far in 2021 it's been shining very bright on the faces of Rogue, and today they take on SK Gaming. So let's put the spotlight on one of the strongest bot lanes in the LEC. Hans Summer and Trymbi, maybe even bigger than the LEC. These boys have been killing it. I've got Caedrel and of course Ender joining me as well. Ender, why don't you start us off, because this Hans Trymbi partnership has been murdering it across the Rift.
Oh, it's been absolutely phenomenal, and seeing the evolution here in Trymbi just getting so aggressive down in the bot lane, you know, this is sort of a Hans Sama special that was back in the day when he played on Misfits. Like, everything was built around him about blasting open through the bot lane, and last split it wasn't all about that for Rogue, but now seeing Trymbi on stuff like the Blitzcrank, stand on the lantern, not letting anyone out, they have been out for blood and have been so influential in getting Rogue early leads.
Yeah, and I think when you talk of Rogue, I think it's always going to be the bot lane in this split. Although there was a couple of pop-off performances from other members last split, the bot lane has been the most consistent factor, and the growth of the bot lane is great to see. Trymbi, when he first joined the league, you could see he was kind of off sync with what the team wanted to do in the first couple of weeks, getting caught out a lot, going for vision alone. The lane phase wasn't as strong as it once was now, and now I just think it's all coming together in the bot side for them. It's probably their strongest point on the map, and their jungler plays towards it. Okay, that's the strongest point on the map. Then can I ask the opposite side of the spectrum, the weaker side of the map? Is there anywhere you're looking? Yeah, I would place it, and it hurts to say this, I would place it on Larssen, to be honest. I think that Larssen, I don't know if it's just a meta shift, but this split, he's been a bit quieter. Obviously, when you think of Larssen, think of Azir, you know, Corki, Rice, all of those control mages, which he finds so much success on because he's very good at farming, very, very good at farming. And then he becomes this late game insurance carry. But when it's a matter of Jace and Lucian, I think he's just trying to adapt to it. I think that Larssen should definitely be able to do this. And when I say weak point on the team, I still think Rogue, flawless across the board. The only point that I'd actually have a little bit of criticism for is the mid lane. I think that the champion pool that he's been playing, apart from the Akali, it's just not looked as good as I'd like. If it was an Azir Corki meta, I think Larssen would definitely be shining. He just needs to adapt to this meta. Sure, okay. But I mean, I guess that's the nature of the beast of being a pro, is having to keep up and keep to that game that's ever changing. But we can also take a moment to celebrate SK, who after 6 losses in a row, finally managed to get their first win. This caught us a little bit off guard. You can see what it did to XL, the fallout of which we discussed at the top of the show, changing 2 players after conceding this loss. But SK, first win on the board, Ender.
Yeah, absolutely. And you sort of love to see how they played it too around Blue in the early game. Blue looking like an absolute monster on that Sylas, and really incorporating Lilipp into the team as well. Lilipp and Jezu running around the map, making plays happen. And it's a really important step in the right direction. But they're going to have to do more than just beat an Excel if they want to have a chance to get back in the season and end up making a playoffs run.
Yeah, and it's hard to say if SK can turn the ship around from this. Obviously, it's a massive confidence boost that you get your first win in the split. You know, a lot of pressure is relieved from the shoulders. But now it's about stepping up, because XL looked kind of weak. They looked a little bit vulnerable. The draft wasn't that strong, but still a very important win for them. Let's see if they can turn the ship around. I'm not on the SK hype train just yet, but a win is a win, right?
I don't think anyone's expecting you to already be putting on the full uniform yet. No panic just yet, but it is a good start in the right direction for SK. And of course, we'll be seeing if they can get a little bit closer as we step into their next game. It's a big one for them. SK, they've showed us signs of life last week, but the summer playoffs is still, for now, a distant dream as they look for a much-needed win today against none other than Rogue. Vedi, it's over to you, handsome.
Which one of us is the handsome one?
I mean, isn't it obvious? Anyway, so we have Rogue versus SK. Now, earlier in the day, Medic, you quite clearly stated that Vitality should have been favorites versus Trymbi.
I mean, they were favorites.
To which they were then promptly destroyed.
Yep.
Therefore, obliterating all credibility you have as a League of Legends professional.
Understandable.
So now I must ask you the same question and outline our expectations for this game.
But here's the thing, I have no credibility, so I think you should answer it.
No, but I mean, you've already set the expectation now, Medic. So why do you not?
Okay, yeah. Well, it's top of the table versus bottom of the table, right? Rogue are looking really strong. Their early game especially looks really good, even though they're not getting a lot of kills.
Right.
SK do not look so strong.
Right.
Their early game has been okay, but even with the introduction of Lilipp...
XL.
No, but generally, even before that, like Treatz
yes.
was still in a good position generally in the early game. However, their team fights haven't looked the best, and their overall coordination doesn't look out of the caliber of someone like Rogue. So my expectation is SK take it in 18 minutes.
Of course, we are just having a bit of fun. Because it was quite a surprising and fast upset that we had to start off the day. But I think that were Rogue to lose to SK, that would be an even bigger upset.
Yes.
But of course, now the team has had a little bit more time to integrate Lilipp into the roster. So we'll see what adaptations the team has been able to make. We're jumping into the draft of our second game of the day, Rogue versus SK. And I'm excited to see what Rogue can do. In particular, I don't know if you listened to that interview from Larssen that he did recently, but he was talking a lot about how he feels it's hard to focus right now, you know? He actually said that he still feels pretty comfortable on a lot of the champions, but it's hard for him to get into the right headspace, to get into the right mindset, and he was talking a lot about how it seems that after a very dominant last split, they've just been taking it a little bit easier, or like he has been taking it a little bit easier, you know? And we'll see how he progresses throughout the split, because he was one of our best performing players last split. I think that many even... I mean, it was always that conversation of, is he better than Caps yet? Is he still second best? And I think that he's obviously had like quite an up and down career. And right now he's in a bit of a low, but I still kind of expect him to bounce back. And I think this could be a great game for him to showcase why he is such a talented mid laner, especially with many of the mage items being reduced in cost, because that was his bread and butter. He is the Emperor, after all.
Especially Everfrost getting that cost reduction is going to help out Larssen a lot in the mid lane. The question is, will he go for a mage, or will we once again see this rise of sort of AD, assassin mid laners that we have seen across the last few weeks? Xin Zhao, Lucian, Kalista banned away by SK, Thresh, Akali, and Nocturne banned away, and that means both Viego and Gwen are still available.
Looks like for now, Rogue is going to prioritize the Gwen. Cheeky Mundo Hover. But speaking to Odo a little bit, he tells me he's a big fan of the Mundo. His words were, and I quote, "I don't know if it's actually that strong, but I really like it." So he's going to lock in the Gwen instead. And it makes sense. He did play a Gwen game last week. Pretty solid performance on it from what I recall. And I think that, yeah, the champion is just so strong still. Didn't receive any nerfs on the newest patch. None of the items that she builds were really affected, so should still be very prevalent in today's meta.
Gwen, of course, still the possibility of a flex. We do see it predominantly in the top lane. About 200 of its 250 games or so in the major regions have been in the top lane, but could still be flexed towards mid or even jungle from time to time. Sett locked in here for SK alongside that Larssen. Once again, nerfed slightly in lane. That Tempest cripple damage coming down just a tad, but can still be very strong and lane dominant in the right matchups.
My instincts right now tell me Sett is top, Lee is jungle. I have nothing else to, what's the word? To like base that on, yeah. Other than just my gut. I just think that they want to run Jenax's Sett into the Gwen because they think it's a pretty good matchup, and they want to get Treatz on an effective early game jungler that they've probably been practicing a lot this week. So unless we will see blue on the Larssen, right now my expectation is it will be in the jungle. But let's see how Rogue round out their first half, because Varus still going to be locked in. We talked about it at the beginning of the day, where the, I always forget the name, Prowler's Claw? Prowler's Claw. That did get nerfed. The Varus, that specifically hit him. And then recently, people have been going to the Dusk Blade instead as a lethality alternative, because it's still a very efficient item and a very good one for long-range lethality Varus. But this Viego, of course, another flex pick. Could go mid, could go jungle. We've seen Whippo playing a lot in the jungle. And to get to see Inspired play something like that is very exciting, especially when we think of Inspired so highly in LEC, how strong he is as a jungler. Give him a playmaker, give him the ability to carry. What can he do on it? It was interesting because that was a big question last split, where it was very much like, okay, sure, he's great on farming junglers, but what if the junglers suddenly have way more agency and he has to gank more and he has to be way more proactive? Fun fact, guys, when he first joined the split, he was an Olaf one trick. All of his wins were basically on Olaf, and he like dominated every early game that he got that champion. So yeah, I would still be pretty confident on his ability to be active in the early game and be a carry in his own right.
This summer, though, he doesn't really spend that much time around his lanes in the early game. I believe he has the lowest jungle proximity of any jungler. So something like the Viego,
like Inspired, yeah.
It definitely does. Something like the Viego, maybe a little bit more gank orientated, maybe looking at those early ganks.
Still scaling too, of course.
100%. We'll see what Inspired decides to do if he does end up on the Viego. Ezreal locked in for SK. That will go down to Jezu in the bottom lane. Last game we saw a Trinity Force flex build from Crown Shot instead of the normal Divine Sundra. I think Sundra is still good on Ezreal, still has a relatively high win rate in solo queue, but Trinity Force does give you just that little extra movement speed and...
They get buffed as well.
Did they get buffed on this patch?
I might be thinking of next patch. I may have read ahead. But I know that Trinity Force has had some recent changes. I'm convinced that it was buffed not too long ago.
It's quite possible this patch that I just missed.
In any case, I'll focus more on like what is happening on our screens right now. Another mage is going to be removed in the Victor. Does suggest to me that Rogue is looking at a mid lane mage right now. With both LeBlanc and the Victor removed, perhaps we see a return of something like the Azir or the Orianna for Larssen, as SK have gotten themselves a little bit more engaged with the Alistar. So you can already see a lot of all-in with SK's composition. Sett, Lee, Alistar all want to get in your face, all want to fight. Curious as to how they will round out their draft. A little bit more damage is what I think they need, as there we are going to get that mid lane mage back in the hands of Larssen. So definitely a big comfort pick for him. Suggests that Inspired will be playing his first game of Viego this split.
Orianna, something that Larssen is, as you say, very comfortable on. Their composition all around does lack a bit of hard engage, and perhaps something like the Galio can help you with that. Of course, does give you a lot of disengage, but the Nautilus, a little bit easier to engage with. That hook often finds its mark. Trymbi will be on the Nautilus in a very powerful bot lane. Varus Nautilus is pretty deadly in the right circumstances, and now SK will lock in the Sylas mid for blue.
Okay, so this Braum ban from SK was very good, because what I was thinking of was, oh, Rogue's comp would be great with a Braum right now. Yeah, their engage wouldn't be very good, but who cares? You're playing against Alistar, Lee, Sett. Like, they're going to do all the engaging for you, and a Braum would have been perfect, something that Rogue has utilized before, but by having that taken away, they're instead going to get themselves the Nautilus. So their disengage tool's not as strong, but of course Gwen W, the Orianna Shockwave, the Varus ultimate, there are still ways for Rogue to avoid fights while also re-engaging themselves. But SK's comp is very much a brawling comp. They want to get on your face, they want to skirmish, they have a very powerful mid-jungle early game duo. Of course, Larssen should have the push in the 1 versus 1, but still, pretty interesting comp about SK. I think that it's a little bit more aggressive overall through their top side of the map, a very proactive Alistar. So we'll see how proactive SK can be against Rogue, a team that will fight you. They are very dominant in the early game, especially against teams that are towards the bottom of the standings. It's going to be an uphill battle for SK for sure.
Yeah, Rogue's so good at just suffocating the enemy team out of the game. We'll see what they can do as they take on bottom placed SK. And on to Summoner's Rift we go. And as you say, SK will be looking to be a little bit more proactive here in the early game, see if Treatz can facilitate anything for them. Lilipp on the Alistar as well, and only his 3rd stage game here in the LEC. Has a lot of weight on his shoulders. Treatz, of course, used to be known for his Alistar. You can only hark back to last year when you had that incredible, last split, sorry, where you had that incredible Hex Flash engage that ended up winning SK the game.
He's had a lot of great engages on his Alistar. Treatz was a great playmaker. Part of the reason why you could argue that he should be a good jungler. And I think that Larssen just has so much agency and playmaking ability to him. He's a fun champion for sure.
Would you say he's a champion that can do a Drake at level 3?
Okay, I'm not going to go into the story, but he can do a Drake at level 3, yes.
Okay.
Not a Cloud Drake, but he can do a Drake at level 3, okay?
In a solo queue game, would you advise that? As someone who's been practicing jungle recently, would you do a Drake at level 3 by yourself on Larssen?
Oh my word, I'm not telling the story on broadcast, but I will tell the story on my Twitter later if people are interested. But in any case, he's going to start on a bot side and path up towards top. So typically, what I found really interesting about solo queue junglers versus competitive junglers is solo queue junglers always want to path towards where they're most likely going to get a kill or a gank, whereas competitive junglers are always like, where can I get my first Scuttle Crab? The Skull is obviously really important. It's a lot of experience and a lot of gold as well, in the early game especially, and you really don't want to concede it. So usually, junglers will actually mirror. Is opposite mirror? Is that the one you're on? Yeah. They will mirror each other rather than try to match each other, because then you just trade the objectives. And usually as a jungler, you'll play towards the lane that you have priority in. So if you have a quick look at your minimap, you will notice that the Sett is pushing in towards the top side. And while the Orianna does have push, more importantly, Rogue's bot lane also has the push. So for Treatz, it makes more sense for him to actually path up towards the top side of the map, and Inspired to do the same on the bot side of the map. Because if you try to contest that early Scuttle Crab, it is dangerous, because even if you should be stronger, things can go wrong, very wrong, in early levels, and it comes down to a lot of individual execution, which can already, at the pro level, swing a game massively. So in general, teams try to take it safe. And fun fact, this is also why the LPL teams can sometimes be very scary, because they will take those fights at level 3, and they will contest you for almost every neutral object.
Have you noticed this from Inspired though, Vedi? He finished his red and now is pathing up towards the top side Scuttle Crab. Now blue has been chunked out and has no refillables left. So Inspired is saying, hey, my mid laner can come across here quicker than your mid laner can. Treatz is now going to have to work all the way down towards the bottom side. Maybe look for a gank him in the mid lane. Blue stepping forward. Treatz dives in with the safeguard. Inspired is just around the corner, has already secured the Scuttle Crab. Now, Larssen still has a Corrupting Potion stack. He has popped it. And you can see Rogue's bot lane already moving up as well. This is going to be a fight around this second Scuttle Crab.
Yeah, there certainly is. Notice that Inspired does have the level advantage, but Treatz is going to get it, will get the level 4. But that was a really good observation there, Medic, because it was just... Someone tweeted at me and asked, why does Inspired get so much praise? And that is a great example of why he gets so much praise. My assumption is that Inspired knows that his clear is actually faster than that of the Lees. So he believes that with the prio that he has in mid and the health advantage that Larssen has over blue, he can actually quickly rotate up and contest for that crab and kill it before Treatz will actually clear through his jungle to actually contest. So he's faster on the clear. That's kind of how you use that jungle tempo. Then Treatz does the right thing in actually fighting Larssen mid, forcing him back off, and then actually moving towards that bot scuttle, and then he asks that Jezu and Lilipp actually go for the fight, go for an all-in so they can actually contest that bot scuttle, and Treatz does the right thing. He makes the appropriate decision, because if he didn't, Inspired was going to get the double crab, and already a jungle differential was going to start happening. So, just really great awareness from both junglers, really good response, call and response, and they end up getting the Scuttle Crabs that they did not actually plan on getting in the first place. So good stuff in this early game.
It does end up being a 1-for-1 in terms of scuttles all round. We'll draw your attention to the fact that Odoamne has Ghost on this Gwen, not Ignite TP, instead going for a bit of extra mobility, perhaps to chase down someone like Jezu as the game goes on. Of course, Treatz can try and kick Odoamne away if he ever looks for an engage.
I will say that one of Gwen's big problems can be the fact that she gets kited.
Yeah.
Her E cooldown is very short, of course. For those that don't know, at level 1, I think it's like 8-9 seconds, but when you hit any enemy, it gets cut in half. But even then, at level 1, or the early levels, it's still like 5 seconds or so, that it, like 4 or 5 seconds, so it takes still a while. But in the late game, it's like a very short cooldown, so you can spam it. But in the mid game, when you're like level 10, 9, around that level, the Ghost is actually really valuable with just helping you stick onto your targets. So I think it makes sense. The other thing is Flash, while does it give you a lot of safety, the W also protects you from a lot of major things, and your E can be used to dash over walls. So I think that it kind of like covers your bases while you're actually not losing too much by actually sacrificing the flash. So I like it from Odoamne. I think that it makes a lot of sense.
Gives you that little bit of extra chase potential as the fights go on. Early doors, though, pretty even between these two teams. 6 minutes in, not a substantial gold lead either way. We are getting towards those level 6 marks, though, and that perhaps is where this game might break open just a little bit more. Now, the third Scuttle Crab on the map. Spectral Maw coming out. Lilipp should be able to walk away from this one, but...
Sorry, I thought you were going to finish your sentence there.
You did the hand signal. You're like, let me talk.
Yeah, it's just because this is really, again, this is really good and another great representation of how Rogue play for their jungle. And LS made this comparison last year, so a lot of credit needs to be given to him, but he said that Rogue remind him of Damwon, like last split last year, because of how they play for their jungle, right? And I'm not trying to sit here and say that Rogue is at the level that Damwon was.
Yeah, because Damwon are quite bad right now.
Yeah, okay. Medic said that, not me.
I also said right now, okay?
But the point and the style that I want to get at is, like, you mentioned that Inspired actually has one of the lowest jungle proximities in the league. And that's because he is, like, quote-unquote a selfish jungler, and that he plays for himself. He plays to make sure that he gets levels, he gets items, he's efficiently clearing his jungle, and also he is, like, punishing enemy jungler whenever he can. So rather than go for a gank, if he sees these in top lane, he's going to steal all your bot camps, right? This was a great situation where Hans Sama had the wave underneath his tower, yet Trymbi sacrificed that, moved up with the jungler, helped him secure it, and they actually had a numbers advantage in the river along with the mid-prio, so they were able to secure the Scuttle Crab for Inspired. And that's, again, another example of how the team plays for Inspired. And it's just a style where it's not the most explosive early game. A lot of the explosiveness from Rogue actually comes from when their bot lane is just killing the enemy bot lane. But usually their traditional playstyle is this. This is why we call them controlled, calculated, calm, because it is very much like about efficiency, farming, level differences, experience differences, controlling objectives. And now, look again, they're going to use their pro with Trymbi here, a numbers advantage, to gain information. Inspired has leveled up over Treatz. He can see what he's doing. He may very well try to steal these Raptors, or instead just look to contest this red buff, which seems to be what he has his eyes on.
You see Lilipp working his way up from the bottom lane as well. Larssen chunking out blue once again. Treatz will get his Razor Beaks. Lilipp has a good flank position here, but Larssen does still have flash. Not a huge amount of mana. The hook comes out. Trymbi engaging. Knockup doesn't land. Treatz hits the Sonic Wave, but all the while this is happening, Inspired is stealing away that red. He is getting this advantage because Rogue were willing to take a fight in the mid lane where they're at a numbers disadvantage to let Inspired have that time.
And again, look at the vision that they're able to gain off the back of this. This whole top side is completely littered with wards from the side of Rogue, and it's just a matter of control. Because now you're then setting up Odoamne to be as aggressive as he wants. He's now at a level where he can actually start to trade with the Sett if he wants to, and they can actually look to contest this Rift Herald because they know they have all this information, and Treatz is like, oh, there's a control ward here, there's a ward here. And the other thing about Lee is he doesn't run Sweeper, which means that all this vision is even harder to clear out because you don't have that early clear that you often get from many other junglers. And as I said, I also noticed Inspired not actually taking the Sweeper. But in any case, Treatz going to steal away that crab. Small advantage gain for him. Let's see if SK is actually in a position to answer this, because they're in a pretty favorable spot right now with the top prio that they do have.
Blue is about to get TP off cooldown. You can see him resetting right now. Treatz has Smite back up. Hans Sama trading with Jezu in the bottom side. Ooh, that was very wide. Hans Sama looking to try and catch him out as the Rift Herald continues to go lower. Inspired, knock back. That Rift Herald just hit the ice, smite it away. Who got it? I think it may have been Treatz. Lilipp gets the knockback there as Inspired. First blood comes out. Blue will kill Trymbi. SK secure. Oh. No, they don't?
They did not get it.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, I couldn't quite tell either, Medic. The smite was very close. The last hit was indeed from the side of Rogue, though. But SK end up drawing first blood, so they finally punish the control that Rogue has had for so long. Great identification as well, Medic, of that TP from Blue as well. It was clear that after so much damage taken in the mid lane from Larssen, that he wanted to just get that reset off, spend his money, get back into the fight. When we have a look back at the replay, we can see exactly how things went down. Nobody ends up getting the Herald overall. So let's have a look back here. So we're probably going to get a slow-mo. Our observers are going to highlight it for us. So Inspired gets knocked back. The eye gets popped by, Inspired. And I think he does also smite in conjunction with that. So it looks like Treatz gets it, but he doesn't. And then, of course, you end up in this awkward situation where because of the TP from Blue, he ends up collapsing before Larssen can actually get in there.
Jenax hard baited me, by the way.
Why's that?
Because he ran straight over the Rift Herald. Like, why would you run straight over the eye
Well, he probably
Maybe
thought
he
that
didn't. Yeah, it's
he
true,
probably
actually.
thought that they got it because it's close, right, in the moment. So,
true.
Either way, SK get a kill. They don't get a herald, so nothing too major happens at the end of the day. So the goal is still very even. Small advantage gained for Rogue. A lot of the advantages that they have gained have honestly been small, but when you kind of look at the CS and you look at the atomization starting to come through, you can see that the Orianna, very slight lead in mid, slightly bigger lead in jungle, slightly bigger lead in the AD carry position as well. Of course, Blue getting that kill is kind of what makes up the difference in the mid lane, otherwise he would also be slightly behind. And it's just like, it's very typical Rogue, you know, like they build these small advantages over time, they get to a certain break point and then they kind of just blow the game open, because they're not a slow team, where they used to be like, we used to call them as like budget Origin. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Where like they didn't quite have the same control that Origin did back in the day, and they were much slower in being able to close out games. That is not 2021 Rogue at all. Whenever they got leads, they were very efficient at being able to close things out, very proactive, and they kind of like suffocate you out of the game in rapid succession. But as we mentioned, if they're going to have a bloody early game, a lot of it comes from their bot lane and how violent Hans Summer has decided to be on the day.
This time, though, Ezreal, Alistar, not the easiest bot lane to kill early on. And, of course, we have seen both Trymbi and Lilipp roaming around the map looking for kills in other lanes. Jenax is going to try and chase Odoamne here, but Inspired is in the right place once again. Showstopper comes out. Jenax going to flash Spectral Maw, and goodbye, Sett. Odoamne secures the kill.
Excellent punish from the Rogue top side. Odoamne is like, you know what, even if you hard commit to this, I know that I can win this 1 versus 1. But on top of that, my jungler is top side. Will mean that the cross map comes through from SK. Treatz is going to look to secure the Drake. And it's one of those situations where Jenax probably went all in on that, assuming that Inspired would actually be bot side, under the assumption that, hey, he's probably in a position to try and contest Drake, so I can actually go for this 1v1 where I think I'm a little bit stronger, but it ends up backfiring, and so that's going to cost Jenax his flash, going to cost him his CP, but SK will get themselves the Drake. So now the gold lead slightly extended in favor of Rogue, but the kills are even, and the Drake advantage is in SK's back pocket. The next one will be an Infernal, which means that we're either getting a cloud map, or we're getting a mountain map. What do you prefer, clouds or mountains?
Generally, or?
Yeah, do you like to go for a hike, or do you prefer to go flying? I can ask this question because I used to be a pilot, sort of.
I think, I'll be honest, I don't think you need a qualification to ask that question. It's like me saying,
No.
do you like being sick? I can ask that question because I used to be a doctor.
Yeah, I sound quite pretentious saying that, don't I?
You do.
Yeah.
You know when you said I had a big ego backstage? Anyway,
I apologize.
clouds are better.
Yeah, you like flying?
I like flying. I also just think like the soft, watery mist on your face is really nice from a cloud. As Lilipp looks for a gank in the top lane.
Wait, when have you just like put your face through a cloud?
I used to live in the mountains.
But then mountains is surely your preference.
It was the clouds that I liked. The mountains were annoying.
Oh, I
Up and
see.
down all the time, Vedi?
Oh, I see. Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. All right.
Okay, let's bring it back to something in the game.
I mean, so the thing is, right now, you're playing for Adder Towers. So Rogue is kind of looking at that bot to add a tower. And this is actually a really good window for them because Treatz is now clearing his Raptors. But what he would like to do is cross map up towards the top side. So you kind of trade bot tower for tier 1 top. But he's not in the best position for it. Lilipp is kind of hovering around mid. So while they will have mid prio, the likelihood here is that they will just get punished.
Lilipp pops the Unbreakable Will and immediately Rogue disengage.
But they get the bot tower in the meantime. Yep. So again, like, it's just one of those situations where it's like the knock-on effect of the winning 2 versus 2 that Rogue had. Because they kept winning in the 2 versus 2, that tower's just progressively getting more and more chipped away. Every time Lilipp Rogue to try and match Trymbi, that tower took more and more damage because there was nothing Jezu could do to stop Hans Summer. And as a jungler, you then need to be thinking ahead like, well, okay, we know we're going to lose this bot tower, so now we need to be thinking about how do I then play for top? How do I set up the waves? Where do we invest the vision? And that's kind of like where the separation between like good junglers and like high tier junglers is, right? Because Inspired is often thinking about these things and saying like, well, we need to be in position to make sure that we can take this bot tower. And now you'll start to see all that shift up towards the top side of the map. And trust me, when you watch it, it looks very easy. A lot harder to actually do in practice. You need a lot of, well, professional level coordination to make it work out. But now Lilipp is looking for a bit of a play in mid. Hans Summer, of course, respects it and will not get punished. The next Rift Herald will be alive. And as Inspired is on the bot side of the map, they are pinging out the vision. They're likely to get spotted out. This could be a window where SK actually looks to contest it, but with the prio that Larssen has on top, perhaps it's a little too risky for the time being.
Odoamne also working his way up from the bot side. Neither of those top laners have TP. Inspired going to secure here's a red buff here as Treatz and Lilipp look to step forward. Treatz working with Lilipp there. The sweeper, as you said, not available really for Alistar unless you want to lose one of your primary engage tools as the game goes on. And during this time, during Larssen's pressure in the top lane, Trymbi's going to get some deep vision into the SK jungle. Larssen having a pretty good game so far. First time we've seen him back on one of his traditional majors. On the Analyst desk, they highlighted the fact that he has been struggling a little bit in this summer season. Lots more deaths than he used to have, less kill participation, a lot of ISO deaths. He actually has 10 ISO deaths already in summer and only had 14 over the entirety of spring.
Yeah, he hasn't had the best split, and we talked about it during draft. He himself has mentioned that he struggled to focus a little bit more, and I think that being able to play comfort really does help with that. And when he's on the Orianna, you can already see 177 CS, 16.5 minutes. Just overall, very solid performance. And again, he's using his prio very well. He knows how to play these matchups. He knows how to bully you in the 1v1. And yeah, right now we're witnessing a very classic Rogue game where they are just out-macroing you. They're using their pressure very well. They're setting up vision control extremely well. And it's not always super obvious, but it's slow, steady. And remember that gold that was dead even 2 seconds ago? Yeah, well, now we're 3k gold ahead, 17 minutes in. They're playing for the next Herald. They're going to use this to then actually break open the mid-tier 1. All the while, Orianna's still pushing in top. They're taking control of your topside jungle. The Drake is going to be spawning in 30 seconds, which they could contest, but they don't actually have to. They can actually just concede it, and they can trade it for like the mid-tier 1, maybe even a tier 2 as well. SK are going to use this opportunity, though, knowing that the Herald has just died, to look for a fight mid.
Trymbi with a hook there to the side wall. Smart of him, could have gone back towards the tower, and then Lilipp would have been in prime range to knock him out of that hook. Rift Hold is going to be used here, you have to think, by Inspired in the top lane.
Oh, okay.
As Larssen's going to continue to push in, but the thing is, you only have TP on blue. He's recalling now. This dragon will be started up. That Rift Hold is going to get a charge on a tier 3. Now, taking an inhibitor before around the 19-20 minute mark, unless you're in total control of the game, can lead to you losing out on XP and gold because you're funneling minions into the enemy. But taking the inhibitor tower does not do that, Vedi.
Exactly that. I think that... Ooh, hang on, here we go.
Showstopper, Treatz looking for the kick as well. Odoamne trying to get away. The Hallowed Mist will follow him. Treatz still chasing forward. Odoamne escapes the ghost, paying dividends. Oh, true shot, true shot, true shot, true shot. It's wide.
Yep. Just barely able to get away with his life. Odoamne, the crazy thing is he still had 2 charges of his ultimate left. He still had the 3 and the 5 stacks of his needles, which gives so much health back if he's able to connect them. Notice that he missed the first one, which was a little bit awkward, but he still actually had tools in his kit if he was pushed even further. So props to him for getting away. Unfortunately, SK, they tried to get something back. They recognize that they're losing control of the game. But unfortunately, they are not able to do so. Odoamne, the weak side king, as he was branded as last split, continues to stay true to his name, soaks up the gank, and is able to walk away with his life. And Rogue get 3 tower stop. They get another tier 1 in mid, and now their gold lead is 4,000. 5,000. Well, 4.5. So, yeah, as we mentioned, a very classic Rogue game. And a very impressive one to boot.
I was a little surprised there by the fact that Hansama decided to use Chain of Corruption. It is on a shorter cooldown than Lilipp's Unbreakable Will, and because
the ward, I think it was. I think it was to protect.
Oh, was it to protect the ward?
Yeah,
okay.
the control ward in the brush.
My only other thought was Lilipp not having ultimate can mean that he is shredded through in fights. Treatz going in here, Inspired. Whoa, okay, Lilipp's gone. That's some Wagyu beef for you right there. Inspired will kill off Treatz as well, and now the flank is on. Jezu has flash, has heal. Does he have anywhere to get out? There's the first arcane shift into a mystic shot. He's going to keep chasing away, dodged away from the Spectral Maul. Still has that flash as the blast going for him. He's going to get to it. And Rogue don't really have the chase tools as Inspired flashes in. Another arcane shift, though, from Jezu will get him to safety. Now Rogue turn their eyes towards the Baron.
And you can see desperation starting to come out from SK. They're just looking for anything to try and reclaim some control. But everything is falling apart for them. I don't think he's going to be in too much danger. He knows where the majority of Rogue are for the time being. But I'm having a look at what Jenax is up to right now. As Larssen, you think that he's in danger, but he's not. He has full vision around the top side of the map. He's in full control. He is very comfortable. And it's just complete map dominance for Rogue, and I think it's very much what we expect. Top of the table versus bottom of the table, Rogue continuing the trend of dominance that they wanted to follow on from Spring. And yeah, we definitely have a competitive top 6, but the gap between the top 6 and the bottom, well, I say that, Vitality got smashed by yeah. Perhaps that gap is not as clear-cut as we initially thought, but at the very least, the top 3 from last, well, I'm going to say Rogue. Rogue looked very good. They look very good in this game for sure.
They really do. 6,000 gold lead for them right now, and it's typical Rogue as well. They have defined themselves by this playstyle, and they continue to play it very well, managing to get early leads and then just slowly eke out any advantage that the enemy team could take. Let's have a look at where we are in terms of items. Seraph's stacking up on Larssen, Duskblade, and the Mana Mune finished on Hans Summer. Odoamne has the Riftmaker. He's getting himself up towards his next item as well. Very strong here for Rogue, as on the other side, I mean, Blue is in an okay position. He does have 2 items on this Sylas.
Sure.
No Grievous Wounds apart from the Ignite on Rogue. Maybe he can do something?
I just kind of feel like Inspired is really strong. Let's see, 1 versus 2.
Yeah, Treatz and Lilipp working well together here. The Heartbreaker, sorry, coming out from Inspired. Blue looking to go in. There's the hijack chain of corruption immediately used. Counter chain coming out. Sonya's away from the shockwave, but it's not enough, and now Odoamne is in a great position on the flank. Showstopper coming out from Jenax, but they dive straight onto Jezu. Odoamne putting needle after needle into SK. There's 3 kills already, and Larssen and Hans Summer are not done at 3. They can count 1 more, it's 4 for Rogue.
And just like that, Rogue have gotten themselves an 8k gold lead. They have taken down 4 members of SK, and they will make their way towards the Baron. Very clean stuff from Rogue, and SK continue to fall short.
SK, the German organization, perhaps used to being on the other side of this scoreline. 7-1 currently for Rogue, as they are well ahead of SK. And Treatz might look for a steal here. Does have Flash, does have Smite, but he also has a massive anchor in his face. Chain of Corruption goes wide. Treatz looking for it. Sonic Wave going in, but Rogue just distract, dissuade, and then turn back on as soon as the Sonic Wave expires. There's the Baron, and Treatz has nowhere to go. Flash kick. Larssen misses there with the command attack. Trymbi low on mana. Treatz might go back in, but decides against it for the moment. Rogue now with Baron, a 10,000 gold lead, 23 minutes in.
Yep, just a very one-sided fight. You can see that SK had thought that they had caught Inspired out, but rather than actually challenge, he immediately goes for the disengage. He throws down the stealth, uses his ultimate to create a gap, and then watch here, Trymbi throws his hook out to act as a shield, a body block, takes the stolen Varus ultimate, and while Blue does throw out the Zhonya's, it ends up just costing him his life. And then the flank from Odoamne, we see Inspired go for the re-engage, and he actually commits onto Jezu, really along with Trymbi, and it just catches him completely off guard. Meanwhile, Odoamne just tanking up 3 members, level 14, I believe one of the highest levels in the game, and is able to walk out of that one completely unscathed. Very clean fight from the side of Rogue. Oh, we didn't even mention Hans Summer, but as you can see, damage.
Kind of Varus things there from Hans Summer. As we said, the Duskblade already complete. There's another tower going down for Rogue. 7 on the scoreboard, yet to concede 1. Lilipp is looking for a flank and a half, but he seems to have lost the rest of the herd as they are looking for Inspired in the mid lane in a 1v3. Can Viego still get out alive? The answer is well and truly yes. Lilipp, though, still looking for that flank instead, engages on Hans Summer, but oh, Lilipp, go to pastures new, my friend. Hans Summer will kill him off, and they do. That does mean that Rogue lose the wave that they had at the tower, so they're not going to be able to crack this inhibitor tower yet, but with still 1 minute 20 seconds on the Baron, they have plenty of time to work with.
They certainly do. Odoamne still has the teleport as well, so he's likely going to move off into a side lane. And it's just a matter of time now, and this is what we're saying. We say they're slow, but that's not game time. It's just that their pace and the way they approach the game, but you can see that very fast, very efficient, as Odoamne gets collapsed on once again. But who collapses who, I wonder?
At the moment, Blue is the one who has been collapsed. You're not locked in. I'm not locked in here with you. You're locked in here with me. As stopwatch comes out from Odoamne. Not sure that was necessary, but it's still going to be okay as they take down the 3 inhibitors that are left. Great hook there onto Jezu. He will arcane shift away. There's the chain of corruption. And Jenax even through the shield. Larssen will kill him up. Hans Summer not satisfied with 1, will get another. as Lilipp falls once again. Rogue on the Nexus towers, and SK on the fountain. Great mechanics there from Treatz, but mechanics is all he has right now as he will fall. Only Jezu left alive, and Rogue are not done with this game yet. Jezu with the True Stop Mirage will not get through the stopwatch from Trymbi. Inspired chasing Jezu back to the fountain. Rogue now on the last Nexus towers, and the Nexus will follow. Rogue with their 6th win of the season as they tie Misfits on that score.
From start to finish, clean execution from Rogue. Little to nothing that you can really criticize there. And I think this was just like a great representation of how Rogue like to play the game. The way in which they enable Inspired, the way in which they use pushing lanes, the fact that they control vision so well. They're always thinking about their next play. Just a very solid performance that really highlights a lot of the strengths of this team, and also I think showcases the evolution of Trymbi as a player. The fact that he was just so coordinated with Inspired, what he was doing in the team fights, the fact that he flashed over the wall with Inspired, they both collapsed on Jezu, the body blocks that he was doing, just a great performance from Trymbi overall, and a great performance from pretty much every member of Rogue overall.
Yeah, really good stuff from Rogue. Your key player of the game votes at LEC on Twitter are Inspired, Larssen, and Hans. Once again, Trymbi is not on there. You just heard Vedi.
Odoamne was robbed.
Justice
Yeah, we've heard all the
supports,
classics. All
guys.
the classics.
Okay, one thing that people might not have noticed, Trymbi was doing the auto attack cancel into hook. So you cancel the animation of hook. It was really pretty. Have a look back if you're a sport main. Really good stuff to do. In spring, Mad Lions become the new LEC champions, but in summer, we've seen a new top team rise up. It's Misfits Gaming. After the break, these teams go head-to-head in a much anticipated matchup.
You can always see when they play, they like to have fun, they're laughing. That's usually a really good sign for a team. But it can also be a weakness when things start going badly.
The feathers get pulled back, and Exo might find the fight they were looking for. Here it's coming in from the backside, and that needlework is just doing too much damage. It was almost perfect.
I mean, Misfits was looking pretty good. I think they should be for sure playoff contenders.
But there goes the equalize. Rob now going to try and turn a Chains of Corruption. Leader coming in. He's invisible for now, but they've already blown up Selfbait. It's a solid start. They're trying to take out Kaiser. They're going to finish the job. He's going to turn into the Nautilus. Immediately, he can ult back out to shift. He turns into the Rumble. He's going left and right, but it's just not enough. You can turn into whoever you want.
The planet and us are connected. We share its veins. We can continue to clog them, or do something about it. By using millions of recycled plastic bottles in our new generation of durable washer and washer-dryer tubs, we reduce plastic waste from leaking into nature's veins. Discover Beco's Eco-Tub washers and washer-dryers for healthy living on a healthy planet.
Cool. Welcome back to the LEC as Rogue takes down SK Gaming in a convincing performance. Hey Larssen, there was a solid game and victory from both you and Rogue, and you went back on your signature Orianna. So what can you tell me more about the Orianna pick, especially given the recent 11.13 patch?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely buffed red since AP items got buffed. And mages have been quite weak for a while, so I guess AP champs are a bit back with the AP buff. And I played a lot of AD champs, so it was actually nice to play Orianna for once. Usually it was pretty boring to play mages, but now since I haven't played them for a while, it's actually fun again.
And throughout many seasons, Larssen, you were known for your capability in mage champions. Do you think that this recent patch at 11.13 will also benefit you as a player?
I mean, it probably benefit me since I played a lot of mages in the past. I don't think the AD champs like Jezu and Lucian, I think they fit me very well as well. They're very similar to mages in the playstyle. It's just like AD champs, but mages, I think. But I mean, I'm very happy to play any champ. It's all about how I play the champ and how I play the game and how good my focus is and my awareness. So champ doesn't matter that much. It's all up to me.
And how are you in general feeling about your own performance today or your kind of mental space going into tomorrow's game? Because recently in an interview with Tom Matheson, you perhaps talked about wanting to feel more grounded in the summer split. So I wondered if there was any extra progress or update you have on this.
Yeah, I've been struggling a bit at the start of this split. I've been dying quite a lot. Usually I don't die a lot. Usually I'm a bit of a KD player where I don't have many deaths. But I've been spiking a lot, dying on sidelines. So I tried this week to play more disciplined and have less deaths. And today I had 0 deaths, so that's nice. But it's all work towards playoffs. It's fine to have a bit of a struggle at the start. I think struggling is good sometimes because you learn a lot about yourself and how to improve. So I don't mind it. I think it's a fun challenge to not have the best start to the split. So I can work from a bad start because usually I have very good starts. So this is a bit different to me. But it's very nice to have a challenge.
And another challenge possibly for you might be the next game that you might be having against Mad Lions, which is a rematch of the previous Spring Split final, which Rogue was unfortunately reverse swept. Okay, how thirsty are you for the revenge?
Yeah, actually, before I didn't mind playing as Mad that much, but since last split, it's kind of the biggest game for me. It's the most hyped game, and I really want to win against them for sure. Before, I always had my mindset on like beating G2 is very cool, but now beating Mad, I think, is the biggest thing. So it'll be very fun, yeah.
And we will certainly look for that match of the week. Once again, thank you for the interview and best of luck for the rest of the LEC, Larssen.
Thank you for having me.
And after the break, a seeming unstoppable Misfits Gaming will clash against the defending LEC champions, Mad Lions. So don't go anywhere.